Over the last 10 years, unfortunately, mass shootings and active shooters have become something that is in the forefront of people's minds. Is it a growing epidemic? Well, depending on the statistics you look at, it may or may not be. But as someone that has a concealed handgun permit in Louisiana, what should you be prepared for? Well, first of all, you need to understand that open carry, meaning carrying a firearm that's not concealed, is absolutely legal in the state of Louisiana. And there's no restrictions on the type of firearm. As long as it's a firearm that the individual carrying can legally own, they can legally carry it openly. Now, in the context of recent events, particularly following a mass shooting, is there going to be a heightened sense of awareness, maybe even hypersensitivity to someone open carrying, particularly a long gun like a rifle or a shotgun? And even a step further, if someone's actually outfitted in tactical gear, maybe wearing a vest or a helmet or something like that. Absolutely. Is that valid? Yes, I believe it is. When things happen, it tends to get in the forefront of our mind. We're hypersensitive to it, and we should be. While that behavior is absolutely legal, it's also uncommon. And by being uncommon, that is the very definition in many cases of suspicious. Now, if you're online on social media, you'll see all kinds of responses to what this person thinks they're going to do if they encounter someone like that. Everything from, I'm not going to do anything because it's a Second Amendment right, to, I'm going to shoot him before he makes it in the building. And if we are able to strip away the bravado and a little bit of the ignorance, let's talk about that for a second, right? What I think rarely actually gets discussed is that there are a tremendous amount of what I'll call context clues, things that are unique and specific and individual to that fraction in time, that time frame of what you're seeing and your mind processing it. I'm talking about things like body language, mannerisms, the look in the person's eyes, how fast are they walking, what type of gear are they carrying. All those things are going to be subtle and oftentimes subconscious indicators. I open carry occasionally around my area. I own an indoor range and gun store. Everyone in the neighborhood knows me. It's not a thing. I also happen to be a police officer, and I'm a United States Marine. So while I may not have a good haircut now, I often have that look, okay? And that's playing a lot into the stereotypes that people in a given area have about what is normal and not normal. The reality is that most people look at me and immediately check it off as, oh, well, he must be a cop, because I kind of have that look sometimes. I'm sure if I was all tatted up and pierced and purple hair, while there's nothing wrong with that, and I'm sure there's cops somewhere that have that, that's not normally what people in this area see as cops. So a lot of it is also geographically and demographically specific and also culturally specific. But say you pull up to the Walmart and you see a guy walking in with a rifle. What do you do? Well, there's a lot of variables that could dictate that. Do you have your kids with you? Are you armed? How far away are you? What are you armed with? And these are all just the things about you. We also have to take into account that individual. What do they look like? And what I mean by that is the total picture. I'm not talking about their skin color or necessarily how they're dressed. What is that initial snap impression of their mannerisms and behavior? We've all seen things, and you can kind of tell a person's attitude and maybe where their head's at on things just by glancing at them, right? We can look at someone and say, oh, he's mad, even though they're not saying anything and they're not doing anything. We can say, oh, they're sad. We could see stuff like that, right? What if the weapon's slung across their back? What if they're carrying it at port arms? All those are indicators that give some inclination of maybe what that person's intent is. Remember, regardless of what has happened recently, the same legal rules exist. Is that person, can you articulate that that person is posing an imminent threat? And the mere possession of a long gun or armor or any of that in and of itself is not an imminent threat. Their behavior has to indicate an imminent threat. Well, I don't want to let anything happen. What we need to start to learn to accept in this country, again, is that we don't penalize people based on what we think they might do. And I know we do actually do that in many cases. I'm saying we shouldn't. You also have no idea who that person is or their context. What if that's an off-duty constable who happened to get a call on the radio of shots fired inside the Walmart, and he just happens to live 2 houses down from the Walmart, and he was cutting his grass. So he just ran to his car, grabbed his vest and his rifle, and started heading in there. And he's moving aggressively and with a sense of purpose, and you're like, oh my God, this guy's running into Walmart with a rifle. So you whip out your high point and fill him full of lead. Remember, when we choose to jump into a scenario as a third party, we hold the majority of the responsibility of that, right? Because we're choosing to act. And one small critical data point that we don't know can change the entire perspective of that scenario. So if for a moment I would ask you to put aside the bravado and all the other stuff that we see on social media and ask yourself, first off, do you truly understand what the Second Amendment is? Do you truly understand that until a person does something bad with a firearm, we really have no reason to take action against them? And then lastly, are you trained and equipped to even begin to jump into a situation like that? Now, if they're shooting and things are going on, obviously that's pretty clear cut. I'm talking about the transition from the vehicle to the building, where people are saying, well, I think he's going to do something, so I'm going to do this. Let's pump the brakes on that a little bit, guys, and let's be honest and intelligent about it and ask ourselves, what information do we have and what decisions can we make on it? Police officers spend years and years watching people and reading body language and actually taking classes in it, but it's mainly through the exposure to tens of thousands of people through that job that they learn to subconsciously and intuitively be able to read a person. And there's other jobs that afford that opportunity as well. But are you willing to stake possibly killing someone's son, father, husband, and then also exposing your family to everything that comes with being involved in that scenario because you made a bad decision? If you feel that strongly about it, I would say by all means, join law enforcement. Ask if your local agency has a reserve or an auxiliary program. Go to the academy, learn that stuff. But you're taking a really big bite of a potentially not very tasty pie. Let's stop with the smack talking a little bit and start talking about this intellectually. As always, be vigilant, stay prepared. Y'all be safe.